There are only 4 games left in the 2024 NFL season, meaning that it is crunch time for a lot of teams to try to make the playoffs. You have the competitive AFC North, the NFC North, and the tightest race of them all, the NFC West. All 4 teams currently have a chance of winning the division. The Seahawks are 8-5, the Rams are 7-6, the Cardinals and 49ers are 6-7. But only one of these teams matters. It's the LA Rams, as they will be the NFC West winners come the end of December. Now, I know what you're saying. The Seahawks have been hot on a 4-game winning streak, but the Rams have been hotter. It's like they're in a sauna with how hot they are. Pause. Since their bye week in week 6, where they stood at 1-4, they've gone 6-2 and beat teams like Minnesota, the Seahawks, as just mentioned, and the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. LA has shown us that they can compete with the top teams in the NFL, having close losses to Detroit and Green Bay as well, while Seattle has not shown us that. They lost by 2 scores to Detroit, San Francisco, while also beating them by 3 to tie their series, and 3 scores to Buffalo. They've had few wins that have impressed me this year, making me believe that the Rams can take the division title in the next 4 weeks. The best argument for the Rams right now is the rest of season strength of schedule. They are 21st in that category at .429, whereas Seattle and San Fran have a .596, and Arizona's is easier than LA at .365. The Rams play in San Francisco, at the Jets, home versus Arizona, and home versus Seattle to close out the year. And guys, keep in mind, they did the same thing last year post-bye. 3-6 before and 7-1 after the bye, their only loss being to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. All of these games are winnable, making me confidently believe that they will go 4-0. Whereas I think Seattle has a big chance to go 1-3. They play at home versus Green Bay in Minnesota, then in Chicago, and finish off the year in LA. It could come down to week 18 between these two teams, where I would have the Rams winning because it's a home game, and Matthew Stafford is seriously one of the most clutch quarterbacks I've ever seen. Speaking of Stafford, if I were to take a quarterback to go and win 3 playoff games en route to the Super Bowl, regardless of roster or coaching, there are only 4 guys I would take ahead of him. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. This is not to say he's the 5th best quarterback. I have Justin Herbert and Jared Goff ahead of him on top of those 4. But if I needed a clutch player to come in and win me playoff games, Matthew Stafford is right up there with those 4. This season, in the second half of games, he is 2nd in EPA per play, only behind Josh Allen, and 6th in completion percentage over expected. Through that 6-2 stretch, he has a PFF grade of 85.2, 6th in NFL, and for the entire season, he's 8th in QBR. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of games, and has been his whole career. 4 years ago, 3 months after I started this channel, I released a video titled, "Is Matthew Stafford the most underrated quarterback of the last decade?" And that has not changed. I also said in July that the Rams were Super Bowl contenders, and I still stand by that because of that man under center. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever watched. He can make any throw in the book, at any arm angle, velocity, tight windows, you name it. If he wasn't stuck in a terrible situation in Detroit for most of his career, people would know a lot more about this man, not underrate him like they do. Real quick, if you're like me and want to play some money on higher than Stafford's yards, or Kupp to score a touchdown, there's no better place to do it than Underdog. Underdog is the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. All you have to do is sign up with code Fanatics, use the bonus cash you get from the deposit match, and create a pick'em entry of 2 to 8 players for a chance to 1,000 times your money. If you sign up with my code Fanatics, you get a deposit match up to $1,000 and a free higher than 0.5 pick on top of the promos they have every day. Of course, it's not just Stafford in this offense. They also have debatably the best receiver duo in the NFL with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. While Kupp is not the triple crown type of receiver he was some years ago, he's still a great route runner and catcher of the football that Matthew Stafford can rely on in crunch time and third downs. He has 657 yards and 6 touchdowns in just 9 games, while superstar Puka Nacua has 708 yards, 3 touchdowns, and is PFF's 2nd best receiver in only 8 games. This offense did not have either of these guys for 4 games. In those games, they went 2-2, averaged just 21 points per game, 312 yards per game. In the games where they had both them, the team averaged 25.5 points per game, 367 yards per game. Safe to say, when the 2 elite receivers are on the field together, the team performs a lot better. Puka especially has been elite in his 2nd season, showing us that his rookie year was not just a fluke. He's 5th in yards after catch per reception and 1st in yards per route run, whereas Kupp is 12th in yards per route run. Overall, Kupp and Nacua are an amazing duo that Stafford can rely on at any moment of the game. Can generate an explosive play whenever they get the ball. Puka out wide, Cooper in the slot feeds families. We've seen Kupp win Super Bowl MVP. We know what he's capable of in the playoffs. Puka had 181 yards and a touchdown in last year's wildcard loss to Detroit. These two single-handedly can carry this offense through the playoffs. No one can guard them, especially when they're finally on the field together, because there have been a lot of times where they both have missed time. But when things come down to it, and the Rams have to play in the cold environments of the NFC playoffs, they can also rely on running back Kyren Williams. While he has not been the most efficient on the ground this year, averaging just 4 yards per carry down from his 5 last year, he has nearly 1,200 yards from scrimmage and 14 touchdowns. He leads the league in first down runs, and is 9th in missed tackles forced. He's just a guy you can rely on to make the play when needed, score at the goal line, and be a bruising back. He's one of the most important pieces to this offense. For example, last year, they were 2-3 without Kyren, and with him they were 8-4. He has not missed a game this year, so that stat's kind of irrelevant for this year. The Rams run the 7th most play action in the league, where Stafford ranks 2nd in PFF grade. He would not be as successful without a back like Kyren Williams behind him. Now I know McVay's an amazing play caller and he's great at play action, but you can't run that type of plays without Kyren Williams. He's just a short yardage and touchdown machine back there, with the ability to break a big run at any moment. It still makes no sense to me because of his frame, how he is able to break this many tackles, just be this type of a menacing figure back there.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
This offense alone is enough for a deep playoff run in the NFC. McVay's amazing play calling and knowledge of his offense's strengths are too much for other teams to handle. However, the defense leaves room to be desired. I mean, since the bye, they have been about league average in EPA per play and success rate. Before that, though, they were like 30th. They have budding stars in Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Byron Young, and Kobe Turner on the line, with Cameron Kitchens making some plays at safety as well. But overall, this is not a group that I would consider elite. It definitely has potential to continue heating up like they have since the bye week into the playoffs. They have safety John Johnson coming back from injury soon enough, so that will help bolster this group. In the 2 games he played, he had a 90.7 PFF grade, but small sample size. Either way, he will help this defense when he comes back. It isn't the worst unit I've seen. It is not something that will win you a playoff game, but it's not something that will necessarily lose you a game. The Rams have a yellow brick road type of path to win the NFC West, and unlike Dorothy, if they follow it correctly, they will win the division and will have a strong chance of making a deep playoff run. This offense is too elite for them not to have a fighting chance no matter where they play in December and January.